Okay, good evening. Thank you for joining Never Again Live. I'm Meir Weinstein. I'm joined with Mideast expert Meir Jolovitz. Okay, everything is hooked up. Everything's great. Uh, we're connected with Twitter. We're connected with Facebook. We are connected with YouTube as well. I'm going to ask everyone who is watching or is coming on. You can make a comment. We'll see the comments live. You can type them in. I'm going to ask you if you could please share it on your social media platform, whatever platform you use. Now, we're going to be discussing Jared Kushner meeting with Hamas and then meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel and asking the Prime Minister of Israel to be flexible to Hamas. And Jared Kushner meeting with the leaders of Turkey, meeting with Pakistan, meeting with Qatar, those who fully support Hamas, those who openly call for the destruction of Israel, and that Jared Kushner is asking the Prime Minister of Israel to be flexible with Hamas and that they want to rebuild Gaza. Let me just point something out that Israel decided in 2005 to vacate Jews from Gaza. They destroyed all their homes. They forced them out. They even dug up Jewish graves that were there. And they thought, naively, that the people in Gaza, so-called peaceful people that just want what everybody else wants, a good life, a roof over their heads, that they would reconstruct Gaza and make, like anyone who is familiar with the beaches in Israel, Tel Aviv, for instance, it's like gorgeous, the beachfront. Gaza has the same thing. The beachfront potentially could be even better than what Tel Aviv has. The whole Gaza could have been built up into an incredible country or whatever you want to call it. But no, they wanted to have tunnels, a tunnel system, and a rocket and missile system, and various terror groups whose sole purpose was to enter into Israel and murder Jews, murder Israelis, and attempt to destroy the state of Israel. Now, one more point before I turn it over to Meir for his expert commentary on what is going on, what the hell is going on. Yoram Ettinger, former ambassador to the United States from Israel, he just sent out a couple of days ago another. I get his emails and just read a quick paragraph right now because Meir Jolovitz is an expert on this matter as well. Since 1948, and Israel is always considered to be the genocidal nation. There would be peace in the Middle East if it wasn't for huge Israel. And how big is Israel? It's larger than North America. It dominates China. It's not even the size of New Jersey. But since 1948, unrelated to Israel, about 11 million Muslims have been killed in intra-Muslim wars and terrorism from Pakistan and Afghanistan through the Middle East to the Horn of Africa, North and Central Africa, compared to 100,000 Muslims killed during the Arab-Israeli wars. In fact, Rafik Turan, head of the Turkish Historical Society, claims that 12.5 million Muslims have been killed in intra-Muslim wars since 1993. So if you look at 100,000 Muslims dead, killed in all the wars against Israel since 1948, and we have, I guess, over 12 million Muslims for sure killed in Muslim wars. It's not even 1% what Israel's the Muslims have been killed in the wars, but yet Israel is called by every single anti-Semite and Turkey and Qatar and certainly Pakistan and the people that Jared Kushner's meeting with, thinking that these are great guys. Israel's the aggressor. Israel's the obstacle to peace in the Middle East and in the entire world. And therefore, in the words of Leif Maroof, who I posted his video just the other day, he's very active in the Free Palestine, Free Gaza movement. One of their leaders, one of their spokespeople, I believe he's in Lebanon right now, from Canada. He says there's going to be a reckoning. All the Jews are going to suffer another Holocaust, and that's going to include the anti-Zionist Jews because they haven't actually picked up guns to start shooting up synagogues and Jewish organizations, so therefore they're fair game as well. Meir, what could you add to this?
Just two quick things to sort of amend what you just said. You're right in everything that you just said. It should be noted that the wars that they died with Israel, these are wars that were manufactured by the Arabs against Israel. That needs to be said. These aren't wars that just spontaneously broke out. These are wars directed in order to bring about, as you said, a Holocaust. And what's remarkable is even though they speak about bringing a Holocaust, the second point that I want to make is it's truly remarkable that the very Arab people who deny the fact that the Holocaust actually killed Jews are the ones who actually said we're going to bring about the next one.
Exactly.
Okay. When I lecture frequently, I give speeches, I write and such, there are three operational words which I use probably more frequently than any other, and that is illusions, delusions, and self-delusions. And it certainly applies to everything in the Middle East. You mentioned Jared Kushner, and I know that that's the subject. So allow me just 2 or 3 minutes to talk about Jared Kushner.
Please.
If you look up Jared Kushner in the thesaurus, the first word that pops up, forgive me, is clown. There was an op-ed. It was an op-ed that was written by Jared Kushner. It appeared in the Wall Street Journal, March 14th of 2021. It was an op-ed that he wrote, and I'm going to read you just a sentence and a half. The title of that op-ed in the Wall Street Journal was Opportunity Beckons in the Middle East. And what I'm going to read you is, it's mind-blowing to think that this is the person who, as you and I are now doing this podcast, is lecturing the Prime Minister of Israel as to how peace should be attained with the murderers of Jews. Here's what he says. I'm going to read verbatim. We're witnessing the last vestiges of what has been known as the Arab-Israeli conflict. The Abraham Accords exposed the conflict as nothing more than a real estate dispute between Israelis and Palestinians that need not hold up Israel's relations with the broader Arab world. It'll ultimately be resolved when both sides agree on an arbitrary boundary line. That's it. For Jared Kushner, it's a map. You move a few lines and there's peace in the Middle East.
So, Meir, let me ask you a quick question about that. So, in other words, when Israel did the disengagement plan in 2005, if they would have listened to Jared Kushner and moved the boundary a little bit differently, it would have been great.
Yes, and I'll tell you exactly where they needed to move it. They needed to sort of move it so the Jews are driven into the Mediterranean, and that might have satisfied, if the Jews would have kept one neighborhood as Jewish and the rest was given up, the Arabs would still not be satisfied. And they've said so themselves. Now, it's interesting. Had I done this piece with you, and I would have simply opined that Jared Kushner seems to think that this conflict is one about real estate, people would have thought that this was my opinion. No, this is Jared Kushner's opinion. I simply quoted him. The remarkable aspect of this whole thing about this dispute, it goes down. Once again, quite frequent in my lectures and such, I talk about that the only lessons of history are that there are no lessons to be drawn from history. The first person who we have on record as having actually said that was George Hegel in 1832. And the last prominent voice that said that was Aldous Huxley, who also gave some version very much similar to the previous ones, and many people in between, that the only lessons of history are that there are no lessons to be drawn from history.
Mhm.
So allow me to do this. If you ask the average person who turns on the news today, what is Jared Kushner doing in the Middle East right now? They wouldn't know to give you the right answer, because the correspondents who are covering the story aren't telling you why. Jared Kushner is in the Middle East right now because the 60-day memorandum of understanding has failed miserably, which was with Iran. It's an embarrassment for the Trump foreign policy. And when one looks at Gaza, the last time we had some kind of agreement, that didn't come to fruition at all. I'm talking about the 20-point Gaza. It was Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan. Now, it was announced on September 29th, 2025. It was revealed on October 9th. As far as the signatories are concerned, they signed on October 10th, and it was supposed to be implemented by October 13th. Nothing happened. It was in fact ratified. It was resolution, United Nations Security Council resolution 2803. Nothing came of it. In that 20-point peace plan, I want to make a very important point. Paragraph 8 called for the establishment of a board of peace, which is in essence supposed to govern Gaza. Israel was to withdraw, Hamas was to give up the weapons, and the board of peace was going to bring everlasting peace. To quote Trump, the first peace in 3,000 years in the region. Article 19, paragraph 19 of the 20-point peace plan of last year was, this is 19 out of 20, number 19, was that there would be a credible pathway to Palestinian statehood. Well, that failed. It bombed. So what did Trump do? Trump comes out a few weeks ago, on July 30th, actually, with this 15-point roadmap, as he calls it. The 15-point roadmap was nothing more than a new policy plan by the United States to implement the 20-point peace plan, which failed before. And here's the most noticeable difference, that the credible path to peace, which appeared as point 19 in the previous, appears in paragraph 1 of the new one. A credible path to Palestinian peace, Palestinian state, forgive me, Palestinian statehood. And how is that done? With Israel withdrawing from Gaza. When Bibi Netanyahu said that Israel was uncomfortable with that, Jared Kushner, the clown, was summoned to go to Israel. Well, first to Egypt, met with the people that you mentioned. Imagine Turkey has a direct say as to who's going to govern Gaza, but Israel doesn't have. Right. And I want to make one last point, which is an important point. Today, when interviewed, we saw this everywhere. He was asked about his meeting with Hamas in Egypt. Now, he met with Khalil al-Hayat, who's the head of Hamas.
Sure.
Whose son, by the way, was killed by the Israelis when they bombed Doha. And he was asked about the meeting, and he said it was a very cordial meeting. They said, they said all the right things. They said all the right things. Now, I am reminded, as most people who understand that the lessons of history are never learned, that on September 15th, 1938, was when when Chamberlain visited Hitler and came away from that meeting, September 15th, by the way, which was the date also of the Abraham Accords. But nonetheless, he came out and he said, we had some friendly talk, is the way he described it. We are being bamboozled. We're pretending that this real estate mogul, whatever, who thinks that the war is territorial, moving lines, as opposed to religious. And anyone who doesn't understand that the war against Israel is a religious war isn't an expert and will not be able to understand why it is intractable. Peace is not improbable. It is impossible. We need to wake up.
I read some of the reactions from Netanyahu, but mean, one of the reactions I heard or read, anyways, was that Netanyahu blasted Kushner for meeting with Hamas. What do you have to say about that?
I don't buy it for a second. He
Mhm.
definitely expressed his disappointment, but there's no question that the United States, Trump has done it publicly. They have browbeaten Bibi. Bibi's position to the Americans, we know from sources which have leaked this and they're credible. Bibi has an election that's coming up on October 27th, choosing in essence what the next government might look like in Israel, what coalition would look like.
Right.
The United States has its midterm elections a week later on November 3rd. The Democrats look like they might upend the Republicans in Congress, which is not going to bode well for Trump and whatever plans he has because of the appropriation of finances and what have you. Never mind that they will also impeach him. He won't be convicted, but he'll be impeached and he'll be occupied. But so Bibi has turned to Trump and basically said, I'd like to cooperate, but this won't bode well for my election prospects because it will appear 3 years after October 7th that Israel's initial plan and promise that Hamas would be destroyed. That's the word that was used time and again.
Yes.
Destroyed. And then Bibi a couple of months later, 2.5 months later, changed the term from destroyed because Biden at the time was not very helpful, changed it, Biden and Blinken changed the term to we will defeat Hamas. Well, if you look at what's going on right now, Hamas is dictating terms to the Americans, no different than the Iranians are dictating terms to the American. The vanquished seem not to be so vanquished. I want to make one more point about the language that's being used, and it's remarkable. Jared Kushner, in his comments today, said, we, the Americans, Trump, the Americans, have told Hamas that they have between 60 and 90 days in order to disarm. Now imagine just the nonsense, the sloppy diplomatic language, the parlance, between 60 and 90 days. What kind of, say 60, say 71, or say 90. You don't say between 60 and 90. I turn to you and I say, Mayor, how much do you want for that car you're selling? And you say to me, well, between $6,000 and $9,000.
Right.
And an 8-year-old child understands the idiocy of such language. And yet, and I will say quite boldly, we have an idiot who's actually running back between the murderers and those who were murdered, trying to find a peace that isn't to be found.
Absolutely. Listen, Mayor, we'll take it up again. We're running out of time. But final words. Go ahead.
Final word. The Muslims, and this applies both to Hamas in Gaza and it applies in Iran. The Muslims are playing chess, and quite skillfully so. And the Americans are playing checkers, and quite poorly so. It's a tragic reality. That's it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mayor. And whoever is watching, please share this on whatever social media platform you use. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.